All right. Hi, everyone. We are diving into Choosing the Direction of Your Heart Conversations, Part 2. Now, we're going to hit on a few more survival strategies and see if you can identify yourself in one of these two if you didn't in the last video. Or someone might come to mind that stands out to you. Let's take a look. We have survival strategies that attempt to connect with other people. And this one, Fawn, which is a new word for me when it comes to these fight or flight survival states that I'm more familiar with. Oh my goodness, I so identified with this one right here. So Fawn is just like she's posing. This is how we inwardly feel. This is what my come from space was for so many years without realizing it. But it comes across as servitude. And you're a servant. Sometimes if you are familiar with or have been in church circles, they see you with such a servant's heart. But they don't understand that you are trying to survive, that you are deeply rooted in fear and rejection, and therefore you're serving. Now, you may not know this, may not be in your awareness. I know it wasn't for me for many years, but you're serving to feel good. And you're serving to feel connected because you don't. You're empty and disconnected. So on the outward appearance, it's, oh my goodness, she has such a servant's heart. You always go the extra mile. We can always count on you. That's Fawn. Loss of self. Well, what do I mean by that? Your identity, your ability to see yourself as a person separate and apart from others is very minimal, or it's even non-existent. I know for many years for me, up until I believe I was 47, I had no sense of self, meaning I had no sense that Tonya was a person independent from you, your need, your decision, what you wanted me to do, what I thought God wanted me to do. Oh, I knew I was a physical person separate, but internally, I did not feel like I had the ability to have a healthy detachment from your thoughts, feelings, behaviors. They were all tied in and intertwined and tangled to me because I thought I was to blame for why you were the way you were acting. So then if I was to blame, which I put in my mind, then I needed to be the one to fix it. And exhausting. People pleaser, yes, because the fear is so deeply rooted in rejection and abandonment. A doormat. This is a familiar idiom of our day and time. Well, Tonya, you don't be a doormat and let people walk all over you. Okay, because that whole image right there is you don't set clear boundaries. Why? Because your desire and your need to feel connected goes much deeper than the ability or the capability or even the desire to set a healthy boundary with someone. Often we're a slave to someone else's thoughts or needs or behavior, and I kind of hit on that a little bit earlier. So this is a survival strategy for that attempt to really feel connected. Now, this might surprise you. Another survival strategy in this desire for connection and need for connection is fight. Now, that seems kind of contradictory, doesn't it? Is that the word I'm looking for? Contradictory? Paradoxical? Is that the word? In that you would think a fighter wants to try to eliminate. No, the fighter is trying to connect. And they may come across as a bully. They may even be explosive in their anger, in their outbursts, controlling, because they're feeling like they are so out of control. They've got to control you. Now, the fawn was controlling, but the fawn was controlling under the radar, so to speak. The fighter, they try to control overtly. It's out in the open. You know their attitude. You know if they're angry or not. You don't have to guess. It's not an under the table, behind the scenes kind of a thing, manipulation. It is outright in your face, loud and or noticeable. But the fighter is trying to connect as well. They have a sense of entitlement. They will come across that way. And their I'm right, you're wrong will be very, very strong in this. And if their level of control, which I want you to understand, goes into a deeper level of fear, the more fear they have, the more control they're going to try to gain. They may even come across like a tyrant. And it's pushing people away. I'm looking up because I'm trying to visualize what this fighter looks like and sounds like and feels like, and their deep need, though, for connection. So these are the two survival strategies that I introduce you to in this chapter, chapter 6. Let me briefly, I'm going to do this very briefly, go back. This was in the previous video, and we learned that there are survival strategies that attempt to avoid. So they want to move away from people, where the one I just showed you, let me go back to here, your fawn and your fight, they are attempting to connect with people. So the survival strategy of freeze and flight, you can see here, it's contracting. If I'm freezing, I'm contracting, I'm trying to camouflage myself. Don't bother me, right? Don't bother me. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to connect. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm afraid, so I am trying to protect myself. Then the flight is panic and worrying and rushing around. And sometimes this is hidden in so much busyness and workaholics and working over and feeling the need to feel productive. And if you're not feeling productive because of a fear-driven need to feel productive, then you'll feel empty, and then you'll need to raise the bar a little bit more. One of the things that we'll talk about in a couple of videos coming up, I believe it might be 2 more videos down the road, is that we'll talk about why doing something doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong, but it's the motive behind it. And right now we're talking about, well, let's just take, for example, let me say this. Feeling productive or doing something productive is not wrong in and of itself. What we're doing now is we are exposing these survival strategies, these strategies that are fear-based, that really are a reflection of our carnal nature, of that old nature that Christ is not exhibiting, that Christ didn't create us to live from, that he's teaching us and showing us how to live this higher way other than our survival strategy, and learning how to recognize this, let go, die to it, right? And learn how to come up higher and live without the stress of the fight or flight. And so we can engage in these, but it takes away from the life that Christ is teaching us and showing us how to live. So as we think of our heart conversations, as you become more aware of your heart conversations, I want us to begin to recognize, where are they coming from? And one of the ways that you can tell, I started to go into our 4 survival strategies we talked about just moments ago, but I want us to also remember that it's important to see if you can become aware of when your body feels stressed. Is your heart pumping fast? Is it racing? Do you feel your body getting really tense and tight? Are you starting to get frustrated? Your eyebrows focusing in? Are you feeling this? Very good indication you are not in a restful state of love and trust, given the situation you have entered in and locked into a survival state. And so we want to become aware of, when we're sensing this and we're feeling this in our body, what kind of heart conversations am I having? What kind of thoughts am I entertaining? What is going on? If it's going on behind the background, pause, let it come to the forefront so you can begin to see where you might be. Sometimes we see situations and we are so perplexed by them, and we look to God many a times outside of ourselves and thinking, God, why would you let this happen? And what is going on? And we're at this state where we have no really comprehension of how important our thoughts and our feelings are creating our experience. And this is what I invite you to, because it's so easy to feel like a victim of thinking and believing and feeling that God is like this puppeteer just making havoc of our lives or controlling our lives. I want us to really, really stop and consider these beliefs. I'm inviting you in this journey of the Power of Heart Conversations to realize that this relationship with God was never meant to be perceived as God outside controlling my experiences and just helping me muddle through them. As we remember from the very first couple of chapters in the book, as well as our videos, we were talking about the prayer that Jesus prayed, that we would know that we are one with Him and one with the Father, that we are one, and that our spirit is our truest identity. And He wants to teach us and show us how to live differently. But if we feel like we are separated and life is just happening and we're trying to navigate with this spirit, with not spiritual, but more of that survival state, wow. I want to go back to this picture just a moment. Look at this. If I'm in fear and survival, and I'm thinking God is on the outside trying to somehow lead and guide me, but He's also creating havoc, that's going to make for a very difficult journey. Our old nature, this fallen nature, and I put here with the help of the enemy. I don't want to give the enemy, or what we call the devil or Satan, more power than what it needs to be, because Jesus said that He defeated him, and the guilt and the power of sin, of misalignment, has been broken. But it's this old nature, it's the only part, I believe, that the mind and this enemy of the mind can begin to toy and play with. So it draws conclusions, makes us feel like the victim and that we're powerless. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I believe you're here because you're desiring to learn how to live a higher way. You're here because there's a sincerity somewhere in your heart to live the Christ life. And so this is why I pose this question here in this slide is, what if Jesus carried himself this way? What if he felt like a victim to life? A victim to God's circumstances, and that God was controlling all of this? What if he felt like he couldn't handle betrayal, or he couldn't handle people not following through, saying they were going to do one thing but couldn't, and the name calling and the threats on his life and the seeking out to end his life and the misunderstanding him and saying all kinds of things about him that were not true? What if he was pulled in all of these directions based on circumstances? And then he asks us to follow him? We don't see that in his life. So there must be a way to live as one who overcomes. There must be a way to learn how to live above these survival states. And I believe he's inviting us and he's showing us how to do this. And it's not because he's some special person that is magical and outside somewhere and we just look and he's this dangling carrot that we'll never be able to reach. But gee, it's a great idea, Jesus, to follow you in this. No. He's given us his life. Why would he ask us to follow him and not empower us to be able to do so? I'm purposely pausing because I want us to reflect upon that question. Jesus never carried himself this way. You can try hard with that old flesh and that old nature and your ego state, and you'll never obtain it. That's why he said you must die to that. We must die and let go and trust and believe that God can teach us how to live life connected with him, in union with him, believing that we are one with him and allowing his life to navigate us through these life challenges. Jesus knew how to position himself to receive life, and I capitalize that because he did. He lived a surrendered life. Jesus, the man, lived a surrendered life to the very life, unconditional love of God, and the Son of God. I believe the true eternal Son of God, the Christ. And so I invite us to picture our heart like a garden. It's one that we cultivate. It's one that we nurture. And as we position ourselves to receive, can we see what heart conversations may be weeding out our garden, making it difficult to believe, making it difficult to clarify a certain heart conversation or belief? We're responsible for following the heart and learning the nature of God in order to cultivate our own garden in our heart. Secondly, have the courage to become aware of your survival strategies. If we do not become aware of what is going on inside of us and our survival strategies, the continuation of surviving and a fear-driven life will continue. And then thirdly, once you allow yourself to become aware of these survival strategies, allow yourself to rest. Rest in the presence of God like a soaking rain. You don't have to try to fix anything real quick by yourself. My goodness, he doesn't want your efforting. He wants your yieldedness. Like plants just yield to a beautiful, beautiful rain, allowing it to soak up the ground, allowing it to soak up the soil, makes weeds so much easier to pull. And in some ways, I guess that was part of your life work. We're taking a moment to picture our heart like a garden. What painful heart conversations rooted in fear and survival need to be uprooted? Are you ready to stop surviving and yield to a higher way? This week, I invite you to be intentional about being still. I'm inviting you to sit with the discomfort of that fearful survival state, yielding it, surrendering it into the very love and presence of God. Bring your discomfort into God's presence and allow His presence to reign on your heart. One of the best prayers you can pray when you are feeling fearful, when you are feeling distress, when you are feeling uncomfortable, one of the best prayers you can pray is say, "Thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving me." Sometimes I just even close my heart. Close my heart. No, I don't close my heart. Sometimes I close my eyes so that I can feel my heart say, "Thank you for loving me." It's not God's desire that you stay in a fearful, stressful state. That's what we've been accustomed to. That's what we've been conditioned to. The invitation is to let go and trust. The invitation is to realize that in His presence there is so much safety and mercy, and He has a way, God has a way of knowing then how to take your fear and how to take your pain and how to take your twisted thinking. When the Bible talks about perverted thinking, it's talking about twisted thinking, and we would say in our conversations here, twisted heart conversations that may or may not have an element of truth, but it has a lot of lie twisted in there, and it's creating a lot of pain, and it's rooted and moving in your heart space, in your thoughts, and in your behaviors with a lot of fear. So this simple prayer of "Thank you for loving me," even if you don't feel it initially, just trust me. That is so much better than trying to strive and struggle and feel like God is not hearing you. Let go. Let the rain fall. Let it rain upon you. Let it soak the soil of your heart conditions. It's important. Otherwise, we will just keep going and being driven by the survival states. Okay? In our next video, we are going to talk about distractions. Let's talk about them. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.